all these. Thank you. And over to you, Leenika. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I will do a quick round of introduction of our panelists. So we have with us Kavita Mehra. She's the Senior Director, General Manager, Management India COE, Dell Technologies. Manu Dangi, COO, Egon Zehnder Knowledge Center, India. Nafisa, Ojha, MD and Country Manager, Colt Technology Services India Private Limited. We have Sumita Arora. She's the COO, Adaan Digital Solutions Private Limited. Thank you, everyone. I would just want each one of you to please go around and introduce yourselves. Thank you.
I'll go first. Thank you, Leenika. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Kavita Mehra. I work with Dell. Just to give you a little bit about myself, won't bore you with the entire detail. 20 years of experience, 18 years of that has been with Dell. I've covered various orgs within the organization, started with the call center division, did international sales, domestic sales, consumer commercial. Then I moved to customer care, then tech support, and now I am with the COE. Why did I make so many changes? Because I feel that I have to learn, else I will just stagnate and freeze. And I think that's what keeps me going. On the personal front, born, brought up in Delhi, now obviously based in Bangalore. I have a daughter who's 16 years old. Things which I like to do. I was a national level rifle shooter. And yes, the day I achieve that perfect state of work-life balance, I want to go back to shooting. So that's my ultimate aim, and I hopefully will get there someday. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kavita.
I can go next, Leenika. Hi, everyone. This is Manu. I head the Knowledge Center for Egon Zehnder in India. Close to about 21 years of working experience. And as Kavita said, I've changed my roles quite a lot of times. So I've been part of the service delivery. I've been part of account management for some of the biggest investment banks. I handle strategic initiatives. I handle sales, business development, D&I also at some point, and so on and so forth. So that's a common theme that you will see across everyone. And I very strongly believe, as Kavita said, in reinventing yourself, because your career is not 10 years, it's actually 40 years. So you need to sustain for that long. Personally, when I thought, I love music, and I have always wanted to learn sitar. And I somehow kept on putting it away for a very long time. And I started learning when I was at my busiest professionally. And the point that I want to make is you need to pursue your passions and your hobbies, because they create a very different thing for you, a different pleasure and fun in your life that you should not at all ignore. And other than that, I love cycling. I've so far done about 100 kilometers, and I'm looking to do more, and hopefully should be able to do more sometime very soon. So that's me.
Thank you.
Go next.
Yes, please.
Thanks, Leenika, and good morning, everybody. I really hope you all are doing well and you're keeping safe. Now, before I start, would like to thank Nasscom for organizing this event on such a pertinent topic. And I'm delighted to be part of it. So, of course, I'm Nafisa. I work at Colt Technology Services India. So Colt is a leading global telecommunications company. We are headquartered in London. We provide global network and voice services to enterprise and wholesale customers in Europe, Asia, and North America's largest business hubs. So in India, we operate as shared service centers with offices in Gurgaon and Bangalore. So I have 20 plus years of working experience. Apart from Colt, I worked with Bharti Airtel and was leading the legal team of Airtel Digital Business. So I was a lawyer by profession, now into a completely business role. I worked with a few financial conglomerates like GE, and then with Genpact, and then did a short stint at Nasscom. So journey has been short, enriching, and mostly been lawyer in the lawyer spheres. This is the first time I'm in with Colt in a business role. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks. Sumita.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Leenika. And I'm great, feeling great to be here, part of this panel. So thank you for inviting me to be here, and looking forward to this interaction. I am CEO Adaan Digital Solutions. Adaan is a full-service marketing agency. We work with businesses across the globe, helping them grow. So we work in both spectrum, SMBs as well as enterprises, helping them with their branding and marketing, communication, design, and digital marketing. I work with, my team has 300 plus people, and 60% of them are young, under 30 years of age. As a person, I think the only thing I love is working with people. So whether those are my customers, my colleagues, or my family, friends. So that's me. I don't want to compartmentalize like that. So that's what I essentially love: interacting with people, understanding who they are, and how we can become better version of ourselves. That's what I keep working on it every day. And beyond my work, I am also a spiritually inclined person. So I'm also a pranic healer. So that is something, I developed during the pandemic. I learned quite a few things, and I think that came as a blessing. So that's me, and I'm looking forward to this interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sumita. So what, we are in total 100 plus years of experience as a group? I was just calculating that. So thank you, everyone. So I'll just set the perspective. As Nasscom, as industry, we are committed to the gender proportionality principle, which basically means that we want to have 50% at the bottom of the pyramid as women professionals. At the mid, it should maintain 50%. And as we go up, it should not reduce beyond 34%. So with that, I will ask our esteemed panelists some thoughts. So Nafisa, this thought question is for you. So this whole hybrid work environment, right? It gives a lot of flexibility, working from home, time to upskill to our women professionals. The question that I have for you, Nafisa, is that does this come at a cost for our women professionals? What's your view on that?
Thanks, Leenika. So, yeah. So I believe that, by altering our attitudes towards work from home during COVID, it may have forever changed the way we work, right? So it's tempting to think that such flexible work options will be big equalizers, for women. Now, one may think by cutting commuting time or allowing mothers to be flexible to maintain their working hours, women can maintain full-time jobs and avoid losing traction in their areas, in their careers. So some may also believe that remote working may leave time on hand for women to upskill. Really, is that the question? So there is always two sides of a coin. Flexibility has its advantages, definitely. But then there is a flip side to it as well. Flip side can be addressed, and since it has to do with our culture, most of these problems arise from there, and it will take a lot of time to rectify. So for example, work-life conflicts. So flexible working may actually increase work-life family conflict because it is likely to lead to an expansion of work and increase the domestic burden on employees. Now, just because mama is at home doesn't mean it is a holiday. So based on finding, women are more likely to carry out more domestic responsibilities while working flexibly, whereas men are more likely to prioritize and expand their work spheres. Increase in flexible working options for women with the aim to facilitate a better work-life balance has not necessarily resulted in increased advancement. And the next one is having access to informal networks. So usually the similarity principle shapes informal networks. We have seen in the past the informal networking common among men as less participation from women is due to late working hours or of any kind of family responsibilities. But the question to be asked is, will work from home further accelerate this underlying inequality? Now, under hybrid working, What happens when some team members are in the office and the others are working from home? So we see a gender skew there, with men disproportionately in the office, very visibly contributing to the business, while women are out of sight and mind. Unless companies learn to evaluate output, reward people for what they actually contribute rather than for the show they put on, a world of mostly remote work may increase organizations' bias for rewarding those who are present, disproportionately harming women. I also feel that hybrid working also has implications on who gets pulled in for quick or informal decision-making discussion. So when someone may choose to work from home and some from office, will the new environment support in removing disparities? Women who choose to work from home will likely to be seen in the formal official channels of communication and would probably be left out of subsets of conversations that shape decisions. If going to the office becomes a status symbol, and at least among knowledge workers, our concern is that men will be gifted more exclusive or privileged access over women. So in my view, flexibility definitely comes at a cost. Flexibility at work increases women's household chores at home, leading to burnout. Add to that the possibility of being left out from important decision-making because she could not be part of side talks in the office can be really frustrating. That's it.
Sure. Thanks, Nafisa. So a connecting question to you is that, while you said there is so much of diversity, and now we are talking about diversity of workspace itself. There were thoughts around stereotypes, women, gender, etc. With this further diversity, what is your suggestion for the leaders to be able to give an equal playing field to the women professionals?
So with leaders, you mean more people's managers?
Yeah, it could be middle management, yes.
Yes, that's a very good question. Now, see, if I have to answer in one word, I would say train your people's manager. So with right action at frontline manager level, it can have maximum impact. You see, typically frontline managers make up to 50 to 60% of a company's management ranks, and they directly supervise as much as 80% of the workforce. So the managers most responsible for a company's success or failure happen to be the ones with whom the leadership spends the least amount of time with. If we inculcate the right culture among the frontline managers, we will be able to achieve so much good. To bring sensitivity to frontline managers, it is important to educate them about gender and biases, encourage diversity among frontline hirings and promotions, create gender-neutral policies at workplace. Organizations need to encourage managers to provide an equal responsibilities to everybody on their team, regardless of gender.
Sure. Thank you, Nafisa.
Thank you.
So any other suggestions, Manu, Sumita, Kavita? I think what Nafisa just mentioned is about rewarding output and training middle management to be ready to give equal playing field to our women professionals, or for that matter, all professionals. Any more thoughts on how can this be done with our respective organizations?
Can I take that?
Yeah.
Yes, please, Sumita.
Okay. I don't know whether I belong to a different world, because a lot of what I'm hearing somehow at our workplace, we are also a certified great place to work. All our policies, there is never a difference in terms. We have never seen anything as from a gender perspective like that. Like even our POSH policy, we updated it to make it gender neutral. Maybe I'm fortunate that at our workplace I'm actually more demanding of women, just maybe because I am in the leadership role. So instead of women getting a second-hand treatment, I actually encourage women to take on more responsibility and move upwards. On the contrary, what I see is that there is a lack of confidence on which I personally work on when I work with my women team members, and that's my perspective on what needs to be done. It's also education that needs to be done for our women colleagues, that you are an equal contributor and you shape your destiny, and it's up to you how much you want to take and push, and that's where I focus on personally. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Sumita. So Manu, some questions for you here. How can we give our women professionals a safe space? What is that enabling environment that we could create, right? We are all talking about an equal playing field. How can we enable the environment for that? Any thoughts?
Very important question, Leenika. Thanks for asking that. I think I'll talk about two things here. First, I want to bring the focus on how big this problem is, right? When we talk about gender roles and we specifically talk about women at workforce, I don't have the global numbers and India specific numbers, but if I just talk about some data from a statistics that was done for US market, the stat said that during the COVID times, women left workforce 4 times at the speed at which men left, right? Second data point is that 1/3 of those women who left have not returned yet. We are still in COVID, so of course things are slightly different. And we are also talking about a culture where the roles at home are more equal as compared to Asian markets, right? Third point is that for the current women who are in workforce, and I talk about this includes all leadership level as well, 1 in 4 is thinking of downsizing their roles and responsibilities, right? A Gartner study just for India says that women are more likely to opt, 26% more likely to opt for work from home. And of all the survey that they did, where they asked for different options, only 4% said that they would want to return to work full time, which means that we have 96% women who want to opt for a flexible and remote model. That's a huge, huge volume at hand that we are talking about. And we all know having women in workforce or a more gender neutral leads to more profitability for the organization, right? So it's a topic where I think there are two sides to it, which means that women are equally responsible for being in the workforce. But if organizations do not do anything about it, they're going to lose a significant part of their women population, right? I'm part of an organization, luckily, where our women gender ratio is actually 50%. Our chairperson is a woman, right? Most of office leaders, almost 30% of the office leaders are women, right? So there's a special focus. But as a person as well, as a leader also, I'm very passionate about pushing more women to move up, right? So if you talk about the size of the problem, it's huge and we need to do something. I think the solutions are geared more towards a complete rethink of how the future of work would look like. And this redesign has to be done at various levels. One, of course, is in terms of the roles and responsibilities. If you just look at roles, you need to identify roles where individual contributors, roles where you need to think about creativity, roles where you're analyzing data, and specifically talking about knowledge workers here, right? Knowledge teams. Those are more suitable for work from home. And there you don't need to differentiate between men and women, because I'm hearing more men opting for flexible and remote options, right? So that needs to be addressed regardless of the gender. But then there are specific things that you need to consider while looking at creating that equitable option, right? So there has to be a rethink of the roles and responsibilities. Second, there has to be a rethink of the policies from an HR perspective, right? How do you do performance appraisal? I think Nafisa probably spoke about that. How do you do performance appraisal so that you don't have a leadership proximity bias that could be at the middle management layer, or that could be for your senior leadership pipeline? How do you make sure that you're demonstrating your commitment to be an equitable employer, right? Which means that you need to make sure that there is equal pay. You're demonstrating your commitment towards an equitable pay, equitable job opportunities, career opportunities, regardless of gender, regardless of location. And that's where your point about diversity of workplace comes in, right? So how do I see someone who's working from office versus someone who's working from your hometown, right? I think you need to make an extra effort as an organization to showcase what your compensation offerings look like. Women already have a feeling that they get paid lesser than men. Now, if you create another variable in that, which is that if you are in office versus remote, do you have a difference in pay compensation? So you need to demonstrate that you are actually you're equitable from a compensation offerings, right? How do you make sure that you have policies that cater to flexible scheduling, benefits, locations, all of that? I think there's a need to make an extra effort towards that. The third aspect is that I think when we think about employee experience, right, that was usually the agenda of the HR teams. And it was more related, what expectation was that, my organization will take care of my experience at work, home I will manage. But today, the expectation is that my employer is responsible for my experience at work and my life experience at home as well. And they need to do something to improve that experience, because there is obviously no boundary, right? I'm working from home. What constitutes a working hour is no more there, right? No, there's no clarity around it. So how do you think of improving that employee experience? It is about rethinking of your benefits programs. Could you look at offerings which provide more benefits for someone who has kids, daycare, parental leaves, right? I always felt when our maternity leave in India was increased to 6 months, I thought that was a bummer, because it would obviously put women at disadvantage. But how do you make sure that you're introducing parental leaves regardless of the gender, right? And I'm sure organizations can do a lot about that. And these are some things which essentially would at least signal to the women and give those opportunities, or at least showcase to them that we're creating a level field for you, right? It's not different. And lastly, Leenika, I want to mention that as much as we say that it is the organization's responsibility to create that equitable playing field, I also feel that we as women or men, I mean, it would be the same whether you're a man or women working from home today, make sure that we look at career either as a choice, specifically women here, because we always feel men is the one who's going to go out and earn, and they're responsible. So whether it is a choice for me or it is a must have for me because I earn my livelihood from it, right? And when you choose either, your approach towards work changes. And if that is the way you need to go, then how do you make sure that you're making an extra effort to stay connected, to know what's happening, to think about ideas that you bring forth to create that value? And how do you collaborate with people so that if you're not on the screen on a video, you're not forgotten, or if you're not there in person, you're not forgotten, right? So that's an individual effort that I want to say, please do not miss out on that, right? And don't always expect that organizations will do everything. There's an extra effort that you need to make. And lastly, I want to say, and I said something about when I introduced myself, I think both organizations and us as individuals have a responsibility to look after our well-being. Women, we try to be superpower, super women, and try to be perfectionist at everything. I think we need to ask for help at home. If we really have no choice but to be working, I think that ask has to start from home, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. And when I look back at my own childhood, I think that's the biggest factor that helped me in being very strategic about my career. Because I never thought that I had a choice. I always thought that that's my future, that's my goal, and I will do it. So that's my humble request to, to women out there. Choose it as a goal or a choice, and you carve out your path.
Yeah, thank you, Manu. Connecting question, I think you did mention a lot about the role the HR needs to play, right? Because the employee experience is something that as an organization we are responsible for. And now it is not only at office, it's also at home. Who do you think this whole cultural thing, right? The employee experience thing, whose agenda should it be? Should it be HR? Should it be the diversity inclusion person? Should it be CEO? Whose agenda is this and how can we enable it?
I think it has to be, Leenika. I don't think it's single person's agenda, but like any other HR topic, first point that it has to be driven from the top. It has to be a CXO's agenda. And it has to be then everybody else's agenda as well. When we just individual thing, when we opened offices, I started coming all 5 days a week. And very soon I realized that if I don't myself choose to work in a remote model, which means, have some days at work, I won't really understand the challenges. And luckily I don't have, too many family responsibilities. And I always say hats off to all the women who manage, multitask and do fantastically well at work. I have, everybody in my family knows that they can't visit me from Monday to Friday. I'm bad at that. So I think it's an agenda which has to be driven from top, and then has to be has to be responsible to the extent that it should percolate down to the line managers. So that has to be the the mandate that there is no way but we have to do it, and therefore everyone has to come together to make it happen. So whether it is a CXO who talks about whether this is the way we are hearing a lot of things in the market, right? All employees are being called back to work. Some organizations saying that you can work from anywhere, right? I think an organization has to first decide what philosophy they want to pursue, right? And then there has to be alignment all across. If the CXO is saying you can work from anywhere, but a line manager is actually preferring somebody who's at work, I think there's no alignment. So it has, Leenika, it has to be driven from the top with participation from there till the line managers.
Yeah, I quite like the point that you mentioned, Manu, where you said the job roles have to be defined in terms of which is the job role that requires for you to be in office and the job role that can be done from home.
Yeah.
So thank you, Manu. Anybody else has any thoughts, Kavita, Nafisa, on this one before we get to Kavita?
I'll share my thoughts then, hopefully.
Okay. All right. So Kavita, you have about 20 plus years of experience, right? Since 2000 to 2022, you've been working with various organizations without a single break. So my question to you is more from a personal perspective, right? What's been your journey? How have you been able to manage the whole work life? Because it takes a lot. So would you want to share some experiences with our audience?
Definitely. And I think before I start there, when I was looking at my journey, what I tried to do was my journey as compared to what I saw as what was how the world around me was changing, right? So let me just give you 2 minutes, and it goes back to the entire conversation which we've had. And I'll start with when my mom wanted to look at work, right? So let's just go back to corporate life, maybe the journey 30, 40 years, right? It was no women or very less women at work, to maybe, okay, let's think about getting more women at work. Then it moved on to, okay, women do add value. There can be some more women, and there is an impact. Obviously, at the end of the day, it could be financial, it could be culture, it could be an overall impact. And today we are at it, we have to get more women across levels, especially at the higher levels. right? Now, when I go and associate this to a personal journey, right? Starting with women don't work, to, oh, you want to work. Why do you want to work? Okay, work, but work till the time you are not married. Then, okay, you are married, ask your husband if you can work. To now, okay, you want to work, you have a family, work till the time you don't have a family. And now that you have a family, work, but family comes first. And this ties to the entire fact what everybody has spoken about, that at the end of the day, we all can work, but take care of your family first. Irrespective of the fact whether you are at office or whether you are at home, take care of your family first. So going back to the conversation, maybe at a corporate level, we have moved. The desire to move from point A to point B is high, and we have made a difference, right? But remember, corporate work comes after 20 years of your life. For 20 years of my life, what I live, what I see, and what I do here is seen by my kids, by my family, everywhere, everyone around me. And that is what goes into the corporate life later. So how much ever change we want to make, you want to make for that matter, it gets slowed down because of the fact that we are not moving at the same pace at the personal front. And that is exactly what my journey has been. I was the first, when I got married, I was the first daughter-in-law who wanted to work. And when I said I want to work, it was okay. When I said I want to work at Dell and I want to do a night shift, it was like, what happened? Do you have financial problems? Like, no, I don't work for financial problems. I think this is an industry which is growing. Today, I am at a stage where everybody accepts it. And I now feel that it is accepted. I have now reached a stage where I am authentic in the sense that I can go back and tell people I have family commitments. I don't think I can make up for this meeting. But I also agreed that this confidence has come maybe because I've gone up the ladder. What I know I owe it forward and I need to pay it forward is I need to develop that comfort level, going back to the point, not just to men, but to women who take that responsibility at home. It has to be gender neutral, and you don't have to wait for people to walk that 20-year journey to get comfortable and say, I have commitments at home. Right? But at the same time, I completely agree. Commitments will always remain. You have to ask for help, and you have to have a support system. I don't live with my in-laws. My parents are not there with me anymore, but I do have house help, and I'm proud to say I have her for the past 18 years. Is it easy? No, but yes, she's there. I did have a conversation with my husband when I said, I cannot go to the doctor every time. I cannot go back to my boss every day and say, I have to take my daughter to the doctor. I went to the doctor and I told her, don't judge. There will be days when my house help will come with my daughter. You don't have to make claims like, why is the mother not coming? So I'm saying it's a journey. So for me, it's been emotional. It's been a roller coaster ride. I don't think I have arrived there. Work from home was not easy because, as mentioned, everybody assumes you're at home. You have to set boundaries, but you also have to be authentic. If somebody somewhere suddenly comes in and decides to ask a question, there is no harm saying, give me a minute, I need to do something. So be authentic, be real, but ask for help. And if you feel that things are not working, you have to talk to your leaders and get to a solution, because going back to the point, things have changed at the office end. People are understanding. And if men, women, both are contributing towards the personal aspect, I think people understand. You just need to have a conversation and build trust. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And I can relate to the story a lot. So I personally think, Kavita, lots got changed over years. So I started working way back 1996.
Right.
And I can see a lot that got changed. What's your feedback?
Same
Have
thing
the
which
gender roles evolved?
Yes, definitely. So as I said, on the work front, definitely a lot has changed, right? As in, there are times when I have to agree, I'm skeptical. I ask myself, have things really changed? Has it really happened? But when I do look back, I still remember when my mother wanted to work, she was not even allowed to work. It was not even a question. Because it was always just understood. It was just assumed that you can't work because you are a woman and you have a family, right? Now it has changed where the roles are changing. There are people who are understanding that this is not just a woman's job, it is our job. And how do you get that understanding, and how do you really work as a family to basically make sure that everybody does everything And that is how you strike the balance. It is changing. I'm still saying it's not 100% there right now, but I think the effort is coming in. It is being recognized at the workplace as well. I am trying to recognize it. I feel particularly happy when not just a woman, but a man comes back and says, I don't think I can come to office today because I'm babysitting. I'm like, where to go? Do it more. Let's do it together, right? It's not just about your job or my jobs, and not just babysitting, right? Parental care. All of us in this room today are at a stage where we have aging parents, right? Again, the same thing. You take care, I take care. If both of us can't take care, we have to ask for help. There is no harm in that, right? That's the reason. And exactly to what you said, that we make a choice, we work for a reason. What is the reason? Because you need to take care of your people, whether it is the young ones or the old ones. So the roles are evolving. They are evolving at both fronts. I just feel that it needs to be slightly faster at the personal end to actually accelerate that growth, what you and me and all of us want to achieve at the office front.
Yes, thanks, Kavita. Any other thoughts?
I
Yeah,
just want
Nafisa.
to say, Kavita, your story is so relatable. Like me, I'm
Typical,
sure.
no?
No, it's actually, it is a fact, kind of. You can't deny that. That's a story almost in every household. And yes, from culturally, you're right. We have started. We are seeing the change, but the change is so gradual. It's moving at a very, very small pace. So culturally we have to catch up to it. And cultural changes are difficult to be adopted by anyone. Like where you see from maternity policies we have, right? It took the government so long to change 3 months to 6 months. And now for women, where maternity leave has changed to 6 months, from organization perspective, I'm not being gender biased here. I'm talking for everyone. From organization perspective, are we really taking that change in a positive spirit? I mean, there are still employees who feel, oh my God, 6 months time a woman will go in maternity. Do I need to rehire her? Do we need her back? And do we need women in the office? If they have to go, supposedly, I mean, how many employers would actually employ women who are, pregnant or who are due to deliver the baby? How many? So that stereotype, that still needs a lot of work. From cultural side, we have a long way to go. And unless and until we bring that change in ourselves at homes, in societies, it's still going to be very gradual.
I can just share a personal, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that a lot has to change from a labor law government perspective as well. So to your point, Nafisa, in Scandinavia, men and women get leave for childcare and maternity and paternity, right? So if a man hasn't availed their paternity leaves in the last 3 years, they're actually seen very negatively from a career perspective, right? Imagine if you could have something like that, how it will change the gender roles, right? So it's interesting, there are several examples like that, which we probably need to bring more for us as a country to change from, gender perspective.
Yep.
Two things which I do want to add here, right? It's just something which just hits you at times. While we are still talking about how will we get that entire policy in place for parents, even maternity, basic things which have been in our system since ages, right? The next generation is asking for pet medical insurance, because let's accept it, people are staying alone, right? They have their companions are their animals. I have people who come back and say, I need leave because my cats are sick. And the fact is, yes, it is a genuine problem. You can't laugh about it. Just that because I don't do it and I haven't done it and my 45 years of life have passed without taking a leave for this reason, it is bound to happen. Another thing which I have to tell you is 7th March was my 19th wedding anniversary. It's my mom-in-law. It's not a fault. It's just the way they are, right? And that's what comes to the cultural change. The husband still, when the blessings are given, is still wished as Juk Juk Jio, Khoob Tarakki Karo. Live a long life and hope you have a lot of success. And the woman is still blessed as Sada Suhagan Raho. Right? And I was like, what happened to my tarakki? Right? So why is it that for me it is still that, and still the tarakki is still given, but it's the second one? So the thing is, do I want to fight about this? No. It's just something which exists. I can't change it. I know it will take time. But it's just that these are things which just pop up into you and say, this will take time. We just have to stay at it. We have to just, view these things and say they exist. Make sure I don't do the same things and move forward in life. But keep pounding and say, this will happen. I just have to make it happen and stay at it.
And
That's all.
Kavita, maybe we take that as a responsibility that we can't change the past, but we can change the
Yeah,
future,
yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
so our narrative has to change.
Just on that, I just thought I'll highlight that at Colt, we have a very we have a parental policy in terms of taking care of the child. We don't call it, maternity policy. We say it's a caretaker policy. And it's a primary caretaker and a secondary caretaker. And the primary caretaker can be anybody, a man, women, or somebody who are same sex who wants to go into adoption, right? So and if it's primary is mother, then obviously we have to comply with the law, and that's where Manu clearly called out that the law also requires a bit of changing. And if the primary is a father, a male, then we do have a parental policy of of 2 months he's given to take care of his child. Similarly, people who go in for adoption also, the policy is very neutral. So that's a small step, I guess, from organization perspective. If we start taking care of it and build that in our culture, probably we'll add up to a little bit of good changes in the society.
Yeah, I think this is a very passionate conversation. We'll just go on. So I just want to turn the conversation a little, Sumita, and this is for you. I think we've discussed a lot of perspectives around women, employees, etc. I think even our leaders it's not an easy time for them as well, right? The whole hybrid working, people working from home. So what do you think? What is that advice that you have for our leadership, largely the middle management, right? To be able to manage the diversity into workspace and manage productivity. So what is the advice for that set of folks?
So I think communication is the key to everything, to all relationships at large, and more so at the workplace. As more and more technology is taking over our lives, we are becoming, our communication skills are actually breaking down in terms of how we are able to express ourselves. Now you look at children who have not gone to school, for 2 years. So they now are, my son is 14-year-old, and now when I ask him to come out and socialize, I'm sure that is happening to a lot of people, that when you're not interacted for a long time with people, so you you feel that pressure or anxiety that whether I'll be able to communicate clearly or not. So I think that's the biggest challenge that we need to address in terms of how to clearly and effectively communicate. And that's where I think all the management and leaders have to focus on that. We need to become good listeners first before we start expecting things to happen. So we have to go back to basics, I believe, and we as senior leaders, we need to again do a lot of train the trainer kind of things, and mentor our own managers on how to be sensitive about a lot of issues. So maybe say another issue is the period leave issue. So it's a genuine problem, and almost all young women I know in today's date have an issue. Nobody goes through it smoothly. They have issues and they need time off. So and unless men are aware, once you get married, of course you're aware of most things, but otherwise people still have some taboos, and how do you break these taboos, and how do you make them aware that you need to be sensitive and you need to respect certain things and you need to allow time off. So I believe focus on communication and training our people to being sensitive is the key here. Again, we have talked about time management. So everybody has 24 hours, and technology for that matter now allows us to do a lot more in terms of being flexible and managing our time. So I guess in that way, it's a blessing. So if we are even in hybrid mode, so you want 2 hours off, so take those 2 hours off. You want, and then come back to your responsibility later. That's okay. So I think that's what is going to help, to be aware and be sensitive, listen in, and help. Does it answer your question?
Yes, it does. I think what you're saying is communicate as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to add here, if time allows us.
Yeah, sure, Nafisa.
So I think I quite agree to Manu's point also that, if you want to bring a change, you have to be the change yourself. So I'll tell you at Colt, we made a conscious effort in our organization, and at the very top level, at a global level, we have 50% women at the executive level who contribute, to the total executive board. And that's the change that we have to do. So it has to be top driven, and then gradually then, you can cascade it to the other team members. And in addition, I'll again reiterate that, of course, gender neutral policies should be there. Educate your teams about gender and gender biases, encourage diversity, equip your HR team with the right tools to take the right decision. So at Colt, we heavily focused on inclusion and diversity, and we have a dedicated IND team and also an IND council. We have a forum for DAN, which is disability accessibility, to address. And then we have got Recite Me, it's an accessibility tool. We've introduced new policies such as transitioning at work and domestic self-abuse and support services. We have expanded our development courses for women. One of them, is being the best brave yourself. And that has more than 400 graduates from across the business. We have rolled out quite a lot of policy improvements to promote new ways of working and to support an inclusive environment for everyone. So I guess driving meaningful changes not only requires leadership definition and determination, but also evidences and matrix.
Yeah. So on this one, where we are seeing productivity, hybrid work environment, middle management needs to be more listening, is there some responsibility on us as individuals, as professionals? What do you think is their role to support the middle management tied through this hybrid work environment and ensure productivity? Any thoughts on that one? So basically what I'm saying is that, we are saying this is our responsibility. We have these policies, as middle management or as leadership, we need to ensure productivity. There are times when we communicate something in the remote environment is not understood correctly as well. So what is that responsibility on the employees to support the hybrid work environment?
See, as long as I think the roles and responsibilities are clearly communicated and understood, I don't think hybrid mode is any impediment to anybody's growth or success. Because the communication channels are now multifold. They are available to anyone and everyone. So whether it's collaborative tools or whether it is Slack or I know people now are reluctant to pick up a phone and call, but even beyond that, so you have multiple communication channels available. So I don't see that hybrid is an impediment. It's we have to adapt to it. We have to live to learn with it. I'm sure we're going to, it's going to work out beautifully for everyone, because women, we said that family comes first, but why should it not come first? It should come first, right? For anybody. So if a family needs it, you should be with your family. Come way. If you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. So when your family needs it, you should be there. When your work needs it, you should be responsible for your work. And we all, I think as human beings, the biggest lesson COVID has taught us that we have all become sensitive, and we have all become aware that it's a precious life, and we should not be wasting our precious moments. And I think so. I think that's a good takeaway from the pandemic, that we've been able to know that we need to preserve our moments and not let them pass, and not just devote everything to work. That's my take.
Leenika, I wanted to add something here. I think during pandemic situation was slightly different because it was global. Everybody was in the same situation. We all were virtual, right? Once COVID is not there and this becomes a norm, I think expectations change, and expectations from organizations are also going to change slightly. That's the reason we're talking about this topic. So I think there is a need for over communication from both sides. From the organization, from the managers side, leadership side, as well as from the employees side, to talk about what's expected from them and what do employees expect, all right, or what they can deliver. There's also a need for us to change the way we measure productivity or output itself, right? And we are still probably, I don't know how many organizations have actually made the change to measure productivity and output as such, because I think pandemic, everybody was struggling to get work done, and we may not have transitioned to the new mode. But if let's say I haven't empowered my line managers or that front line managers who are actually dealing with people, right? Because if you look at it, the spans that organization had so far was very different. One person could manage even 100 people or 50 people with few support junior managers. But if we are in a hybrid model, one person cannot do their job of communication, handling, measuring productivity, measuring output, also stakeholder management, client expectation. So I think there is a need to relook at the span. There's also a need to relook at how you measure output and productivity. And from an employee's perspective, there is a need for them to over communicate and also understand expectations on delivery, right? I may be flexible yet deliver, but if there is a time sensitiveness which is around a deliverable, how do I handle it? Have I already communicated what my workflow and what my day looks like? So I think those are some of the things that we may have to rethink and focus more on as this becomes a more normal way of working.
And
Just to
sorry, just to add to what she said, just one more dimension. Do everything that Manu said. Along with that, just remember one thing: the profile of the people you are not the same. Most of the people you would be working with now would have never seen an office, maybe if they're new hires, right? So don't think that just what you know is going to be the same thing that they know. So have that conscious effort to say, what I know, and okay, just long story short, relearn. Don't think that what you know is what they know, and look at it from a different view altogether. It's not the same. So just one more point. Sorry.
Just one last food for thought. So change in the culture is pivotal. So no matter how many policies you have, unless there is a cultural acceptability, it will not work.
Yeah. Amit, we have some questions from the audience that you want to ask.
Yeah, so one of the questions was around policy. So I think the group has already answered that around paternal policies and taking care of people. So that is answered. I have a question that I want to ask the panel as well. Is we all talked about culture, and that's very pertinent. So as if you look at future as parents, what has to change? So that down the line, 10 years down the line, this is not being talked about. This is already done, dusted. So from that perspective, what could be done?
I have given my answer. No sada suhagan raho, right? And then when my daughter if she's out, she's out. I have to stop her for the right reasons, right? And I take very simple, silly examples. If the entire family is sitting, I will never tell a girl to go to the kitchen and get water if I have to. Right. So I'm just saying those simple things which have to be done every day. And by more than my wife, more than my daughter, I have to have that conversation with my husband. And his mindset has to change. He's a businessman. He's not worked in an environment like us. He doesn't see. We're a very small group of people. I have to tell him he needs to change because he comes from a joint family from the same background. So I have to tell him, you have to make that effort. The world is changing. Move faster or we'll have an issue. That's it. Thanks.
That change has to start from home. We've been like, I've got an older sister and just two of us. And for us, my mother's been always a single parent. So for us, she did not draw any kind of difference. Oh, you're girls, so probably I should not ask you to go out and do it. I think that's the only thing she's taught us, that go out, be bold, be independent, be financially independent, and do whatever you feel like. So that's the positive attitude. I've had aunts, we've got two sons, and she's brought them up in such a way that she says, I don't have any daughters. So my sons are equal to my daughters. So they do everything. They lay tables, they used to wash dishes, after food work, the after dinner work that you have, or who's going to kind of, pick up the dishes, who's going to clean the mess and all that. Boys have been doing it. They're doing so fairly well that they both joined Indian Army. So I mean, it's all in us, it's all within us, that change. And unless and until we take out or we start that change from home, you will not see the change in the society.
Yep. Any last questions, Amit?
And I'm not saving for my daughter's marriage. I'm saving for my daughter's education. That's
Exactly.
So, Leenika, I'm afraid we are running out of time as well. So we'll have to wrap up. But yes, if any questions keep pouring in later as well, I'll make sure I circulate and get them answered from the panel.
Sure. So thank you, everyone. It was a very, very interesting. I think I've learned a lot and look forward to more interactions. Thank you.
Thanks
you
to
all.
the entire Nasscom team
Everyone,
for doing
have a
this
nice
conversation today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thanks.